That's always paradoxical for people, isn't it? In the sort of, again, general population, if we're talking this idea, if someone's trying to lose weight, they've literally got 100,000 plus calories of fuel on them, and yet they're going to be hungry between breakfast and lunch and dinner. Um, and so this goes back to you touched on ketogenic diets and hunger. Curious some of the other tips, tactics that you might use to help with hunger, because obviously that's a big part of the fact that there's food everywhere is not helping us in terms of our people, in terms of being able to get from one meal to the next.
Yeah, so two things immediately come to mind. One is relatively higher protein intake. So protein
Yep.
is the most satiating nutrient.
Yep.
And again, if you're an athlete, you're gonna want it for recovery. You're gonna want it to build more muscle, make your muscle more functional, more greater strength. So protein for performance, yes, but protein also to just help abate hunger. And then the other thing is, and this is implied if you're an athlete, but for a general population type of person, exercising is the what it does. And the research on this is in aerobic exercise. We don't know if the same data applies to resistance exercise, just because we don't have that data. But what aerobic exercise does is it helps to regulate your appetite, and it does this two ways. It helps with satiety and satiation. So let me explain them in 30 seconds. When you're eating a meal, if you have better satiation, you stop eating when you're full. So your ability to stop eating is better when you're doing aerobic exercise. Second, that's your satiation. So you end a meal when you're full. Satiety is the second part. You're not hungry in between meals. So after lunch, you are now, and you stopped eating because you felt full, your satiation was better, and now your satiety is better. And that means that you're not hungry between meals. So exercise, and this is going to seem paradoxical, exercise will increase your appetite, but it does it in a regulated way. And what I mean by that is you are not hungry when you've just eaten, and you're only hungry when it's time to eat again. So the best thing somebody can do, and again, this is new to me. I've not been in the appetite scientific research for most of my career, but one of the best things you can do to help people help them control their hunger is to get them walking, help them with doing some type of aerobic activity. By the way, the thing that is the worst thing for appetite regulation or dysregulation is sedentary behavior. If you're sedentary, you're hungry all the time, and you can't stop eating, even though your body shouldn't need more nutrients.
Yeah, it's that paints a pretty good picture right there. Last one for you on the true or falses here. Amino acids are just as good as intact whole protein for maximizing muscle protein synthesis. This one's for the athletes.
False. Yeah, that's false according to limited research, but and now just in the last few months, a third study, and that third study basically reported no difference. So I'm aware of 3 studies, 2 of them in humans, 1 of them in rats. Intact protein, casein, whey, soy, whatever the intact version is superior, or at least not worse than the supplemental essential amino acid, branch chain amino acid supplements.
Well, that segues into my the next area here, talking about supplementation. I mean, if we start on the physique side of things, maybe the best place to start there is even supplements that are popular that really, you've crossed off the list over the years, as that's just not being, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, or the evidence just isn't stacking up anymore.
I'm going to answer that in a way that if it's not caffeine, creatine, protein, or fish oil, I don't. Well, beta alanine that can be effective depending on not for a physique athlete. They're not training. They're not getting a high lactic acid. Depending on the
Team
sport
ice
athlete.
hockey.
Yes. So depending on the sport, beta alanine would be an effective one. I'm not very and again, I'm a sports nutrition trained researcher. That's where a lot of my early work was. There's just not a lot, in my opinion, based on my my reading of the research, and I've written 3 textbooks on sports nutrition. It's kind of my
Kind of your thing.
core.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not. It's just, and that's a hard message for a lot of people to conceive, because it's the media messaging is it's hard to beat. I mean, this will make you better. This will make you better. And it does. At the cellular level, you'll find this, or this one study did this. And again, I have the luxury. I can spend hours a day looking at what does all of the research suggest.
Yeah. What's the body of knowledge tell us?
Yes, yeah. Like one quick example, at a very pivotal moment in my life, when I was literally helped me make the decision to go into this new career, I read a book called Optimum Sports Nutrition. And this book said arginine and ornithine, like these amino acids, they will skyrocket your growth hormone. And I was like, I love this. I want to skyrocket.
I think we were reading the same book at the same time.
Yes. I don't know if I should say the author's name. But I read that and I'm like, wow. And then the more educated I got, I went back, and those studies were in rats. It wasn't even all of even the humans. It was like cherry picked. And I'm like, no wonder this guy seems so amazing. Everything is amazing from his book. And again, I don't want to trash, but it was not an accurate representation of the research. I mean, I always feel obligated to say, if the study was in rats or primates, or I'm going to tell you that.
You have a pet rat, go for
it. Yes, yeah. And I don't watch many rat sports, so I tend not to read rat, I tend not to discuss.
I like the message though, keeping the main thing. I mean, you talk about caffeine and creatine and protein and omegas. It's like, okay, let's make sure we're getting in the big rocks, so to speak. Beta-alanine is an interesting one around team sport, because it can have a really great application. The challenge is getting athletes to take it daily. Most want to just take it as a one-off. Just curious your thoughts. Obviously, we've got to get levels up to a certain threshold, but just curious your thoughts of athletes taking it just on game days. Let's say if you're playing 2 or 3 games a week versus every day.
Yeah, I would suggest it's wasting. If you're not going to, you have to take it. You have to keep the levels, just like creatine.
Yeah.
You have to keep carnosine levels high, and beta-alanine will help you do that. So yeah, it's kind of like creatine. Creatine's a daily to keep levels saturated. Now, daily doesn't mean 365 days a year. If you miss some days, that's going to be practically meaningless. But it is one of those things, that needs to be more of a daily mindset, not just a one-off. Like caffeine, you can take just once and get all of the benefits.
For sure.
Not all supplements are like that, unfortunately.